Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hookah With It. Today I've got my February book haul for you. I got some gems in February and I wanted to share them with you. So if you like this video, please click like because it really supports my channel. And then if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would love to spend more time with you. So let's get into it. First book that I picked up was a booktube darling, specifically booktubers from England. They seem to have raved about this book over the last year, and that's The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I'm so excited. I found this at a library sale for $5. It is in beautiful condition. It looks like no one's really read it. I love that. This is kind of a gothic story about a woman in the 19th century, at the very end of the 19th century. She is widowed and she takes her young son and his nanny to the countryside to start afresh, and there they hear rumors that this monster, the serpent monster, has reappeared and has killed someone. So it's kind of a mystery, but kind of gothic, and Simon over at Savage Reads just loved this book so much, so I'm so eager to read this. At that same library, I found In a Cottage in a Wood by Cass Green. And I'd heard of this. I believe this is a pretty new release. And this is about a young woman named Neve. She meets this other woman named Isabel on a bridge, and Isabel forces this little tiny package into Neve's hand, and then Isabel jumps off the bridge to her death. And Neve is obviously really affected by that. She decides to leave the city for a little while just to have some like downtime and kind of work through what just happened to her. And she finds this little cottage. This whole thing kind of just lands in her lap. And she finds this cottage, she goes to this cottage, and she starts noticing a strange thing. The cottage has like bars on the windows, and there's just something not quite right. So yeah, In a Cottage in a Wood. It sounds really fun. I also picked up Triptych from Karen Slaughter. Now I love Karen Slaughter, and this is the first of the Will Trent series. So this is a detective series, but Karen Slaughter is someone I completely trust. I know that this is going to be a gritty mystery book, and I am so excited to get into this. I need more Karen Slaughter in my life because I just love her so much. And then I also got My Name is Resolute by Nancy E. Turner. Now, if that name sounds familiar, that's because she wrote These Is My Words. I am still in the hunt for that book, but I found this and thought, oh, well, this is great. I can, you know, try her out. And this is a chunker. Look at this. This is like over 500 pages, more like 600 pages. So this one is just an interesting storyline. It takes place in 1729, and Resolute Talbot and her siblings are captured by pirates. They're taken from their family's plantation in Jamaica and sent to the New World. And it says that ultimately she becomes a friend of Margaret Gage, the very real wife of the commanding general of the British Army in America. On the night of April 18th, 1775, Resolute carries a message to the Revere's silver shop, changing the course of American history. I want to read this really badly. I didn't even know that this existed. I just saw Nancy E. Turner. That seems familiar. And it sounds wonderful. I also, before I picked it up at the library, I saw that it has over 4 stars on Goodreads, and that's a very good sign. That's so rare to find on Goodreads, so I'm really excited for this. So this next one was kindly sent to me by Penguin Random House Canada, and that is The Chalk Man by Cj Tudor. Now, I received this and I opened it that night and started reading it. This is a 5-star thriller for me. I've done a whole review on that, so I'm not going to go too in-depth here, but I'll link that somewhere around and you can go and check that out. But this took me on a wild ride and I loved it. really creepy. This next one I found at Chapters for like $8, and I couldn't not pick this up because I much prefer the hardcover to the soft cover. Are you guys picky that way too? Because I am very picky when it comes to my covers. And this is Black Rabbit Hall by Eve Chase. This follows two storylines. We follow Amber, who lives at Black Rabbit Hall with her family. And she spends most of her days like running around the woods with her siblings. And then one day something terrible happens that changes her whole life. We flash forward 30 years and we're following Lorna Dunaway, who is getting married, and she wants to get married at Black Rabbit Hall. And once she's there kind of deciding if that's the place for her wedding, she starts to uncover the history of Black Rabbit Hall. This sounds very Kate Morton-esque, and I love that. I love Kate Morton, so I have high hopes for Black Rabbit Hall. These next two were given to me by my mom. She finished reading them and didn't want to hold on to them, and I personally love A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I've always wanted to have this on my shelves, and this is just such a sad book. This is a really beautiful story about grief and all of the feelings that you feel when you're grieving, and I just loved this book. So, Monster Calls. The next one that she gave to me is Snowblind by Christopher Golden, and this is about a town in New England where they've had like very severe snowstorms, and one snowstorm is so severe that people have walked out into it and have vanished. And another snowstorm is coming, I don't know how many years later or months later. Everyone's preparing for it, but it's also drudging up all of the experiences of that first snowstorm. So I am going to read this in the winter. I'd probably read this in like November or something, when I know that it's going to be snowing around here for sure, and I'm in the mood for something wintry. This next one is more like a health book. I picked up Wheat Belly. I'm really interested in the whole gluten-free lifestyle, even though I think it's really hard to do. I've gone gluten-free here and there in my life, and I've always found it like really good for my body. Like, I just feel better when I'm going gluten-free. But it's really hard to be a vegetarian or pescatarian and also gluten-free, so it doesn't always work. But I did think that I should have this on my shelves. I saw it at a library sale for like $1 or $2, so I had to pick it up. This next one is a favorite of Stephanie's from That's What She Read, and this is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a love story that spans, I believe, 51 years. 9 months and 4 days between a couple, and I've heard only wonderful things about this, and I have never read Gabriel Garcia Marquez yet, and I feel like I should have done that by now. He also wrote 100 Years of Solitude. So anyway, I saw this. It's in beautiful condition and it's floppy too, so I picked that up. Another nonfiction is Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. I miss the Obamas so much, and I'm Canadian, you know, like, it's not even my country, and yet I genuinely miss this man, and I would love to read something by him. I know that he's written a few books. I want to say 3 or 4. I would also really love for Michelle Obama to write a book. She's just someone that I admire so much, and they're just a powerhouse couple, and this is the story of his life and also his experience and his relationship with his father. So yes, I picked that one up. This next one is called Himself by Jess Kidd, and this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's metallic. These leaves, some of them are metallic and they're lovely. I was drawn to this because there's a blurb on the front by M.L. Stedman, who wrote Life Between Oceans, and this is a story about a man who was an orphan, and he had been told all of his life that his mom had abandoned him, and as the years go by, he starts to learn that she might not have abandoned him, that something more sinister was going on, and that she might have had no choice. And so he's on the hunt to find out what happened to his mother. I'm sure that this is going to break my heart in several pieces, and I'm ready for that. This one was just like a random buy, and I don't do that too often. Usually when I pick stuff up, I'm like, I had been wanting to read that, and Lord knows my TBR is in, I think it's over 1,000 now on Goodreads. You can go and check, but it's pretty crazy. The Butterfly and the Violin by Christie Cambron. Now, I believe that this is a World War II story, and we follow art dealer Sarah James, and she discovers a portrait that she saw when she was a young girl that she was always drawn to, and it's a painting of a young violinist with piercing blue eyes. And so she's on the search for this painting, and she comes across William Hanover, the grandson of a wealthy California real estate mogul, who might be the key to finding this masterpiece. And slowly they begin to unravel the story of this character in the painting. And she's a real woman named Adele von Braun. She lived in 1942. She was the daughter of a high-ranking member of the Nazi Party, but she didn't comply and agree in any way with their beliefs. So she spent her years smuggling Jews out of Vienna, and I believe that she got caught. So it sounds really interesting. What a fantastic, interesting storyline to me. So I picked that one up, and I'm really hoping it's good. These next three are Asian historical fiction. The first one is Burnt Shadows, and this takes place right after Hiroshima, and she is a survivor. We follow this 21-year-old. She's about to get married. Everything is, you know, fine in her life, completely fine. And then Hiroshima happens, and her entire life is turned upside down, of course. But it's also interesting because it spans all of these continents. She seems to move around a lot. She goes to Delhi, New York, and Afghanistan, and it is her experience. And it sounds really, really interesting to me. I also picked up The Ghost Bride, and this is about a young woman who is not very wealthy. Her family is not wealthy, and she actually is asked to become a ghost bride by a very wealthy family. And their son passed away, and they still want their son to have a bride. And that's this woman, and I don't know exactly how that would go down at all. How do you do that? I don't know how you marry someone who's dead, but that's what this whole story is about, and it sounds fascinating. I would never have thought about this, and I don't know whether this is actually a tradition or not in China, but interesting, right? And then the last one is Amy Tan's The 100 Secret Senses. I had another copy of this, but it was like so tattered. It was so bad. So when I saw this at a library sale, I picked this one up. And Amy Tan tells the most wonderful stories about female relationships, specifically in familial settings. This, I believe, is about a sister relationship in China, and it sounds wonderful, so I picked that one up. That's it, guys. Those are all of the books that I've picked up in February. There's a ton of them, and I'm buying more. You know me. I really need another bookcase. It's getting bad and really good. So let me know what books you've picked up in February that you've been really excited about, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.